Hello guys, welcome. Welcome to another episode of Ripster Daily Trade Recaps and Daily Teachings. Lot of special. Today was Thursday, last day of the week, so today was a lot of options. I'm not going to cover SPY QQQ today, but I will cover all our other plays. If we have time, we'll try to cover SPY QQQ as well. All right, guys, amazing day today. Earnings season, full-blown earnings season. These are the opportunities where we make money with repeatable setups, earning setups. There was a bunch of plays today, so a lot to cover. Before I start, let's do a quick introduction to anybody who's new to my Twitter accounts, new to my YouTube, or new to our community. All these recaps, all these teachings are from any trade ideas that I share on YouTube, on Twitter, or mostly from our community. We trade a repeatable system called Ripster EMA cloud system. This system is traded by thousands of traders across the world to trade consistently to make money in the stock market, keeping losers small and winners big. Every morning, me and my team, we create a game plan for the day. The game plan includes news plays, earning plays, index stocks, upgrades, downgrades. We have initial game plan based upon support and resistance. I create this game plan live in the pre-market for everyone. And based upon this game plan, we trade, we buy, we sell, we short. Whatever we do, we do it based on this game plan. In addition to that, we also share something called day 2, day 3 repeatable strategy. This is another game plan we share in the morning, so the traders can trade day 2, day 3 setups. Today was all about the day 1 setups, but this strategy also comes handy, especially during the earnings seasons. Banks moved really nicely on this. We also share the daily levels for SPY QQQ ETF index stocks, so the traders can use these levels and use the EMA cloud system to trade these stocks on their own. On a trend day, they really pay up well, but on a choppy day, these setups, sometimes are stuck between those levels. In addition to that, we also share crypto levels, so the traders can use Ripster EMA clouds to trade those cryptos. And we also share futures. We also have a futures room in the community so you can trade the futures based upon our trading system. So we plan everything. This is all provided to the community members in the pre-market. I often share the game plan on Twitter as well. We also trade low floats. We have a low float channel. We share a low float watch list, and we also trade IPOs. I'm at the voice at the market open, guiding the traders through the various trades, and also guiding in my alerts feed. We're not an alert service, but we try to, I try to guide the traders through all the trades. Thousands of traders are on our trading floor all day, sharing ideas to find opportunities in market, to make money, to keep losers small, winners big. Like I said, we only trade repeatable systems. We have set of repeatable systems that I teach you in these YouTube videos and in my webinars and on Twitter and on my free website as well. We have a bunch of tools in our community. We have 3-4 stock scanners, option scanners, breaking news alerts, voice alerts. We have book map, support and resistance alerts, hold, unhold, and many other things. These tools are over $500, $600 per month that you can use free in the community. Anyways, that was a quick introduction. I will show you my time-stamped guidance. Of course, I cannot show what I say on the voice, but I will definitely show you my time-stamped guidance on the various plays that I'm going to cover, so you can understand and see the time-stamp step-by-step guidance, how the stocks move and how we make money. I will try to, I'm not going to go too deep into the lot of options today, but I will show you the gains on the options. I have posted a bunch of videos on how to trade the lot of options and risk reward on those lot of options. So I'm mostly going to go through the setups and how the setups work. Let's start. All right, let's start with the main play of the day. That was NVDA. Let's see what NVDA did today. We shorted, if you watched my yesterday's video, we were short on NVIDIA yesterday as well. Today, NVIDIA again faded big time, and we were ready for this. What was NVIDIA? NVIDIA was our day to set up. Let's see what was the plan on NVIDIA. The plan on NVIDIA was bearish bias, watch the market, watch the semis. What does that mean? That means our initial bias is to short the NVIDIA, buy puts or sell shares short so that we can make money on NVIDIA going to the downside. And we will be also watching the market. If market is heavy, market is bouncing, and we will also be watching the semiconductor sector. If the sector is weak, it makes the semi-NVIDIA short even better trade. All right, so the levels were provided to the community in the pre-market as soon as the market opened. Let's see here. Let's look at our guidance here. How did we trade NVIDIA? So you see that there was a, there was not a big gap, but NVIDIA kind of pushed big at the end of the day. It was basically flat. So, so as soon as the market opened, I told the traders short it. This is we call as an amateur move. This is the first move. This is one of the repeatable concept I tell you, and then comes the trend move. So today, the amateur move was a short. Right at the open, I told the traders to short, and I told the traders to cover some of their shorts at 1 or 2s. So you see that right after the shorts, the NVIDIA hit our 1 or 2 targets, but it bounced and gave another opportunity to short at 10 a.m. 10 a.m. repeatable concept. You could buy more puts on this pop, or you can short it because this is a bear flag right here, and we are breaking down that bear flag right under that, and we faded all day. My final target was 100. You can see that I posted my final my target to the 100 as well, and right here at around 10:20s, and we did hit our 100 target. At the same time, Ghost Board was, in-house option flow also was alerting the unusual flow on the puts. That gives you an added confidence to trade those puts. So let's see how NVIDIA did, right? So you can understand it was under the clouds. The clouds tell us to short. Under the pre-market lows, it tells us to short. Our stops are right at the open. If we short here, our stops are right over this 512 clouds. So let's look how NVIDIA did. You can watch my yesterday's video. You can always trade leverage ETFs, NVDS. You can trade that, and you can buy those shares at 28, 20, and you can make almost $1 on profit. If you risk $500, you can easily make $2,000, $1,500 to $2,000 there. So let's look at the lotto. Puts. So how do they do there? So looking at the lotto puts here on the NVIDIA. Let's see here. All right, let's see. So these were the lotto puts. They went from the 80 cents all the way to $3, right? So you always take a closer lotto options. You don't need to go too far away. And when I gave the short in the open, you can take 103s with the risk at bottom 70 cents. The lotto options are usually 100% risk because you're trying to make 200, 300%. And this lotto option went from 80 cents all the way to $3, almost 200%. Gain on those puts. Even if you bought it for $600, you were making $1,200 to $1,300 by end of the day. So that's how you trade these lot of options. You buy those puts with the system. You follow the NVIDIA clouds, the cloud system to short NVIDIA. So that was NVIDIA, guys. Beautiful trade. We did try to take a long here. There was a buyer at 100 that kept coming in. That's why we covered our. You see, we closed our short over that. We tried to curl it, the curl failed, and it did give another curl later in the day. But the main trade was the short. That was an A+ trade. The curls are B-. So next one we're gonna cover is Micron. So what was Micron? What was our plan on Micron in the pre-market? Let's look here. So right before the market opened, a news came out on Micron that they are reorganizing their business units, right? Sometimes it's bullish, sometimes it's bearish. But I think investors didn't like it. So the plan was to trade versus MTF. If we get more volume, 69.60 was the support, 70.71 was the resistance. As you see, as soon as I saw it breaking down right here, you take a short right away. Right away to take a short, it's called MTF short. And the first target I gave was 67.50, and next target was 67. So from that short, even if you took a 10 a.m. bear flag breakdown, we hit our 67.50 target, and we also hit our 67 target. You can see I gave the targets well ahead of the time, and by 10:30 we hit all those targets on our MTF short. This was the MTF clouds. That's where you take the shorts. So another beautiful trade. There was no reason to long it. The puts that the traders traded in the community were 69 puts. They did get out of the money, so they lost all the value. But you have to, but it did run from 70 cents all the way to $2, 150% gain there. So if you traded for $2,000, you made a $3,000 or at least $2,000 on your 2,000 lot option. So your risk is here, right here. If you trade 10 a.m., if you short right away, your risk is right here. So you have to be fast on some of these plays, at the open. And you see that why was my 67 my target? Because we are right at the pre-market yesterday lows. That's why 67 was my final target that I gave on MU. So next one we're going to look at is Costco. Let's see what Costco was doing. So Costco, beautiful setup for next week, but today it was an MTF long, right? So it was an MTF long. Similarly, MTF cloud system is the system that I invented to trade. It gives very high probability trades to us. But it was not just MTF. On Costco, we also had a news. Let's look at the pre-market game plan on Costco. The game plan was that they approved the increase in the cash dividend. So when they approve increasing the cash dividend is generally a bullish news. So we have a bullish news. We had a levels 970, 975 resistance. And the plan was bullish bias if 1 hour MTF holds and pushes, right? So 1 hour MTF holds and pushes. So as soon as I see that pushing, I told the traders MTF long, add on the pullbacks, and you can see that right pushed back, pulled right to the Ripster 512 clouds. You can buy the lotos, you can buy 980s or 985, something like that, or you can just trade the shares itself, right? So I gave the 975 stops when we started to push. I gave the 975 stops. So you see our stops never really hit, and as it started to move up, I kept telling the traders to move their stops up 986. The targets I gave were 990, 995. You can see that 995 target I gave in middle of the day hit by end of the day. My final target was $1,000, and we almost hit that $1,000. We were just like 10 cents short. But you can see that how high probable this trade was. It was you don't really have to trade the lot of options. You can trade the shares, you can trade next week options, whatever you want to trade it. And let's look at the 980 lot of options here on Costco. Let's go there. Let's look here. So you can see that the Costco 980 options went from like $3, even if you went it on pullback, even if you risked it whole 100%. By end of the day, you got 500% return on that, right? If you bought it for $300, or if you bought 2 for $600, you made like $3,000 on it. Even if you scaled out on the way as we move up, you could still make double your money. The key is to hold with the fight. As long as 512 hold, you do not cut. You let it run. That's the key. That's the power of the system. That's how the traders are making 5 figures, guys. So next one we're going to look at is UNH. Let's see what UNH was doing today. So UNH had a news. If you look at the daily chart right here, it was gapping down. It fell from 580s all the way to 480s, right? $100 sell-off on UNH. An immature trader will see that it's too low, it can't go higher. But we have a Ripster EMA cloud system, which gives us a good, good indication what we got to do. So if you look here, we had a plan on UNH. It was our top earning place. And as soon as I saw UNH, as soon as I saw it, breaking down of that 512 clouds, the plan on UNH was if 470 holds, 512 calls, no go under 470, right? But even before it hit 470, I saw this bearish candle. You can see this 10-minute bearish candle. This candle told me it's going to be a short. And as soon as it broke down, I said it's a short, no longs. Short, no longs. 470 was the first target. 465 was the second target. And then as we started, and I told the traders that this 460 is a big target because it's a pre-market lows. If we break 460, then we're going to go much lower. You see there's an initial bounce on the pre-market lows, and then it bear flags and break down the 460. My final target was 450. We met our 450 target. We threw some profits into 445s as well. That didn't work, but then it started to curl here. We got out. We did try to play a lot of option curl, which went from $2 to like 350s, but then it failed and traders shorted it again. So you can see the all-time stamped guidance right here, pre-market planning. It was definitely a home run trade for the community today on UNH. If you look, usually I recommend when I was on the voice today to the closer options. Let's see, let's look at the 470s here on the Lotto options. So let's see that. So when we see that 470 Lotto options here, you can see that the 470 went from $3 all the way to $22, and that was another 600% winner on the Lotto options. Traders really killed it today on UNH. You can see that how traders, Crawfish had a 300% return on UNH. Cole did pretty good. Jaswinder, Fahad, everybody was killing it. ABCD. You see that the community knows the system and they trade the system. Krasik was, took a short from 478 and he held it all the way long. So that was really, really good. On Niner trades really did good on UNH. So that was pretty good trade on UNH for the whole community. So next one we're going to look is Lily. So Lily also was on our game plan today. I hesitated a bit. It gave us a good entry, but I, had to respect the system. But let's see here. So Lily, grab and crap under 815, long over it. Breakout is at 840. So the 840 was our breakout. And the support was 815. You see, it never broke 815. So the amateur move pulled back to 815. We were waiting to see if it gaps or crap it holds, but it held and it swiped from that level. From 840 breakout, it pushed all the way to 858. So that was the morning 10 a.m. trades for the trader. Then we tried to short it under the 512s, but it held. We got out break even. And then I told the traders to long the 512 calls and 850 the target on that 512 calls. And on the 512 curls, you put stops here. It went from, it was a big move, if I show you really. So it went from that 835 all the way to 850. So the morning trade, you get out right here, you get back in, and it was a long setup all day long. The lotos, we had 850 lotos. They moved nicely as well. So that was a Lily trade. Yeah, so I gave the targets in the morning on Lily were 850 and 860. And you see that I touched my 860 target. I was a $2 short. Even on the bounce on the 512 curls, again, I touched 850 and there was a double top basically. And that's why it double topped and pulled back and gave you a nice short end of the day as well. All right, let's look at a loser today. MSTR was a morning loser. There was a breakout. MSTR didn't have a news. We were looking to trade long this breakout. It would only work with the market. Remember, when there is no news, that stock moves with the market. So MSTR, we tried to long it, and 315 was our risk, and we had 320 lotos. Let's look here on MSTR. But when it failed, we had to stop out. You see that we stopped out right here. 315 was our risk. We were long here at 317, 318. It didn't really work, but that's fine. You see that when you lose, let's look at 320 calls, or we can look at some other calls as well. Or we can look at let's look at 325 calls, right? So if you look at 325 calls in the morning, they flushed pretty hard when they were bouncing. Let's see here. Okay, so we need to look at the calls, right? Let's see here. So you see that those calls from $1.08 or $2 were pushing to $2.50. But when we failed, we had to take a 50% loss on it. So you see, when there's a loser, you have to keep it at 50%, assuming you risk the same amount on your lotos. But when we make 200, 300, 400%, just like I showed you on the winners. So that was fine. If MSTR made you big red for the whole day, that's a problem, because we will have loser. We just need to try to understand, why do we have this loser? And this particular case, we had a failed breakout, triple top, and market was not strong. We tried to long a stock which didn't really have any catalyst. That's why it failed. So that was a loser. Let's go to the next one. So the next one we're going to look at is on Baba. So Baba was a nice gap and grab setup today. What is a gap? Gap is the area between yesterday close and today's open. So this was our gap area, right? If I want to draw it, hold on. So if I want to show you the gap, so this was our gap area, right? So this was the gap, and it was very high probability trade because we were looking at a gap and crab setup. And I told the traders, if it cannot push over 111, short it for gap and crap. Rejected 1080, gap and crap confirmed. MTF below, target 109.30. Risk is right here at 110.70. Then we move the stops to 110.50. Gap and crap to the fib levels. We always draw fib levels. You can draw the fib levels from open closing price to high of pre-market. You can draw it from closing price to high of the day. And you see that all the targets that I was giving were based upon the fibs. We met our 109.30 target, and then we also hit the next fib, and that was a nice short, almost $2 short for us on BABA. And you could just buy the puts for gap and crap with your defined risk there, and you would really do really good there. So we can look at 111 puts, for example. Now, so what did the 111 puts do? So let's bring it here. Let's see here, 111 puts. So 111 puts went from 74.80 cents all the way to $2.40, right? So you basically doubled your money, right? You $80, you made $160. And go back at the loser, we lost 50%, but we are gaining 200%. So that was BABA, 200% lot of ports. Again, in my community, I teach everything. We have a lot of option webinars. I am on my voice. I try to guide through some option trades, but my key thing is to help you guys pick up your own strikes and, not spoon feed you, so you guys can trade those lot of options and make money in the market. So that was BABA. All right, so next one we're going to look at is HIMS. HIMS, I failed to put it on my game plan, but then I saw that it was gapping down on the Lilly news, right? The Lilly weight news. So it was an opposite of BABA. BABA was a gap and crap, and this was gap down, gap fill. And you can do the same thing. You can take a fib from close if you want, or high, or whatever you want to do. You can make that fib on the pre-market highs and pre-market lows. And I told traders 512 curl watch, and I told the traders a 512 curl, and then it pushed over to 512s. It's a repeatable system. You long here, your stops are right here, and you hold it as long as the 512s hold, and the target was MTF, and that was a beautiful, beautiful trade for the small count traders on HIMS. You just, even if you bought 500 shares or 1,000 shares, you risked $500, you made like $1,500 on that, right? So that's your risk reward. That's how you want to risk, and that's how we want to, trade these setups to consistently make money in the stock market. Our repeatable Ripster EMA clouds. Nothing is, our system is based upon all the clouds, all the labels, everything we have here. We trade 10-minute charts, right? So that's how you get those winners that you are trying to trade here. All right, so let's look at HIMS options. Let's see what they did. So if looking at HIMS options here, right here, they're very illiquid. You see there's not much volume, a lot of spread, even though they went 100%. So it's better to trade the stocks on names like this and stick with the liquid options. So next one we're going to look at is FANG. So FANG was another earning play. Let's see here. FANG was one of our earning plays right here. No volume in the pre-market, so I didn't really have any bias on FANG. But as soon as the market opened, the FANG showed a lot of strength. That's when I told traders that you can long versus 133. Your risk is 133.
Benzinga Pro Squawk has disconnected.
It pulled back and gave you a good entry right here, and then it's pushed towards 139. So this was your another entry here, and because it held the 512s and it pushed toward the MTF. You see how the MTF acts as a magnet, and you can get those MTF targets on these earning plays. These are all earning plays, guys. All right, next we're going to look at another, loser, American Express. We were trying to short it. It was on our game plan right here, American Express, a low ATR, long over MTF, short under it. We were shorted, but when it started to pushing, we took a loss and we moved off. We were short, but when it pushed over, we took a loss and we moved on American Express. All right, let's look at Tesla. So Tesla, we also tried to short with the market. When it was right here, we shorted it right here. And when it's pushed, we took a $1.50 loss, but then it actually faded later. It gave a 10 a.m. short. The first short did not work, but the second 512 fades actually worked and paid nicely for the traders. I was not interested because I knew it's going to chop in this range all day, so it's not worth my time. But anyways, I just wanted to point out that we tried to short it and didn't work. So you see that the two trades didn't really work today was mostly the ones which didn't have too much news. All right, so next one we're going to looking at is Taiwan Semi. Taiwan Semi was another gap and crap setup on the earning plays. Let's look at the game plan. The game plan on Taiwan Semi, gap fill under 155, long over it, and you see that as soon as it breaks 155, you short it, you make $2 to $3 on that, and get done with the day, right? So that was Taiwan Semi. All right, let's look at SPY QQQ since we have a time here. So SPY QQQ was a short at open. Pretty clear, not at the open, but it was, short right here at 9 when this broke down. That was an amateur short. Then it pulled back. We stopped out of the short, and then it gave a 10 a.m. short. So you see that was a 10 a.m. short right here, 10 a.m. short. After that, didn't do much. We got the 10 a.m. short, so really didn't do much on that. But anyways, great day with the earning plays. If you want to trade with us, you can join the community. Easter sale is going on right now. Come for guidance. Do not come for the alerts. Take care. Thank you. Bye-bye.